you. It's surprising how much time it takes to fight with people on the internet. I just had to get involved with the Super Mario trailer this morning. I just want to talk about this just briefly at the beginning. I really hate Super Mario Brothers. I just do not gel with that. I mean, I try to get along with it. I watched the trailer this morning and I was like, so awful. And I think part of it also is like people trying to insist that I like it. It's like Peacemaker all over again, season 1. And for some reason I think because I liked Superman so much, I was able to finally come around on that. And who knows, maybe someday I will come around on Super Mario. I thought that a little bit of it was funny, but there's aspects of it that just annoy me so much. And then I made a comment about Brie Larson being a liability for the film. And I had to deal with a lot of crap online. It's really frustrating on Twitter because a lot of people there don't know me. I mean, Twitter is the kind of place where people retweet something and people just, they make a snap judgment with no context and often not even really knowing the person who made the comment and understanding where I come from. Being accused of not liking other women is just particularly maddening to me because I spend so much time and get so much hate for defending women. And I know that Brie Larson, by the way, gets targeted by hate channels, the same hate channels that target me. But I'm always going to tell you guys my honest assessment of everything. I'm not a fan channel. That's just not that's not my purpose. There's nothing wrong with being a fan channel, but that's not what I do. But I just want to say that I really, really appreciate how much you guys support me and that you understand where I'm coming from. And it just really means a lot to me. So I wanted to gift, instead of my usual 5 memberships at the beginning of every week for the first stream of the week, I'm going to donate 20 memberships just to show my appreciation. And because it's just been a really bad day. It's just really awful, Blocked a lot of mofos. Not gonna miss them. It's like, and I have to tell you, when I thought about the Super Mario trailer, it just also brought back, like flooding back, what a horrible situation I had with the first Super Mario movie. It was just, I would say it was one of the low points of doing what I do. It was just so horrible. It was just really bad. Okay. I'm not a gamer. I don't understand the gaming community. Thank you, Drago. There's starting to be some crossover, so I cover it from the perspective of the industry and someone who's not a gamer, but, will interact with games from the movie, TV, comic book side of things. And I'm never going to be a gamer. I don't own a gaming system. I'll never buy one. I had some growing up, but it's just not something that appeals to me. I realize that it's becoming extremely popular, and I think that's great. But I just, thank you, Big League Chew. Sahib, I'm not going to review Super Mario Brothers. I'm probably not even going to see it. I mean, if I know other people who want to go and see it, that's fine. But why do this to thank you, Maria. Why do this to myself? I'm not gonna review the movie just for there to be, like, I took like a hit last time that I reviewed that movie. It's not worth it. I'll cover Super Mario from a box office perspective, and I'll certainly cover Super Mario Brothers if I'm talking about movies that I think will do well next year, because I think it's going to do great. But it's just, and I'm not going to do a members only because, someone will clip it and I'll still have to deal with all the drama, and then I still won't make any money off of it. Hey, Oasis, thank you. It's, and also the other thing is I can see how some of you really love Super Mario. And I don't want to come in here and just hate on what you like. Like, I don't want to make a video. Like, we just don't like the same thing in this situation. It rarely happens. And it's the same reason I didn't cover Peacemaker. Because I was like, why am I going to just say and make a video that just hates on something that other people enjoy? Right? Like, I just have a fundamental problem with Super Mario Brothers. You know, like I feel it has no benefit as a product. I mean, that's one of my issues with a lot of the stuff I see in gaming, you know? Um, Usually when you read a book or you see a movie or, you know, you don't learn with gaming, I feel like you don't learn a skill. I feel you there. I mean, with the exception of something like The Last of Us, though, that I think is like a real story with a great message. Even part two, you know, I thought that was beautiful. But and I'm not a big part of the gaming world. Maybe to this. I mean, maybe I don't see what makes it so popular. But from where I'm standing, I just don't understand it. Zay says, I respect your opinion, Grace. I enjoy hearing different perspectives. Um, yeah, I mean, sometimes I can review things that I don't like, but the Super Mario fandom doesn't want to hear a negative thing, you know? Thanks, Bubbles. Yeah, a lot of, I mean, I'm getting attacked by so many people with celebrity avatars who don't put their own face up there. Just Blaze Disney, I'll cover the Mortal Kombat movie. I'm still going to cover video game related movies, shows, and stuff like that. And I'll still cover cutscenes that go in the other direction. You know, as I always say, don't let people kick you out of a space. I'm not going to let anybody kick me out of a space. But I will say I don't see any benefit to reviewing a movie that it's just going to create problems for everybody. It's just going to make everybody angry, myself included. So what's the point? Let's see here. Oh, wow, Juan, that's so generous of you. Clapback Cinema, I'm so happy to hear a positive update on you. And then Nada says, people put their liking of a video game over treating other people with dignity and respect. Like superhero fans who claim to be like superheroes. Yeah. People get really vicious on the internet. And I get it. I mean, I was like in a really bad freaking mood today. Like, did that partially color some of the ways that I might have, could I have handled myself a little better with that first tweet? Probably. But, you know, people say they like spicy Grace until Grace is spicy about something they like, and then they get so upset. You know, the spice stings. That's just the way it is. But yeah. You know, I'm not, I don't like it when people are personal, make it personal in the attack. I always keep it above the belt. And like, I don't go to the Critics' Choice Awards because I think it would be weird to sit next to the celebrities that I critique. Like, I don't want to do that to them. I don't want to put them on the spot like that. I mean, I'm a sane, normal person, you know? Britt says, do you stand by your comment? Oh, no. Okay, a lot. Also, I forget that, like, I forget that Twitter sometimes things can be misinterpreted because, you know, it's like when someone said that Zendaya all those years ago was an upset win for the Emmy, right? Because they didn't know what upset win means. They didn't know what that term means. And a lot of people didn't understand what I said. People thought that I said that Brie Larson was definitely going to tank the Super Mario Brothers sequel. I did not say that. I said if anyone can tank the Super Mario Brothers sequel, it's Brie Larson. Because, you know, she might make a comment about female gamers, something like that. Just don't underestimate her. I told you that I was worried about Cynthia Erivo, and she stepped in it a little bit with the first movie and changing up that poster. Remember how upset she got when people tried to make the poster look like the playbill? And she just totally freaked out like I suspected she would. Luckily, Universal was able to control that, and Cynthia Erivo apologized. And it worked out. Crisis averted. And maybe Brie Larson has changed. Maybe she has grown. I don't know, you know? Let's see. But, you know, it's a risk. I think it's as big a risk potentially. You know, someone said, well, what about Chris Pratt being there? And I'm like, I hope they don't pair them up for interviews. Because, you know, can Brie Larson hide her, I'm sure it would be her dislike of Chris Pratt. And if she doesn't like Chris Pratt, then how is she going to explain that? You know, and she takes such strong, aggressive stances. How could she support someone? I have a problem with Chris Pratt, and I'm a moderate. I have a problem with Chris Pratt. I think Chris Pratt goes too far. I have a problem with him evangelizing. I have a problem with him outright supporting RFK Jr. I can understand him not wanting to throw RFK Jr. under the bus because they're family members. but I think it's a mistake to come out and fully support him. I think RFK causes a lot of damage. So yeah, so it's just going to be like, I'd be very curious to see how this works. Like, is she going to stand on the red carpet, smile, and stand next to Chris Pratt? Like, how's that going to work? Okay. I'm glad you love Chris Pratt. A lot of people like Chris Pratt. He's definitely, and some people said, oh, you don't call out male actors. I've said a lot of bad stuff about Chris Pratt. I've said a lot of bad stuff about James Gunn. I've said a lot of bad stuff about Ryan Gosling. I've said a lot of bad stuff about Glenn Powell. I'll probably be saying more bad stuff about Glenn Powell this weekend because it looks like The Running Man's not going to do very well. So anyway, Chris Pratt, when he's still allowed to be in a movie, can do quite well. But I will tell you that he has damaged his career, and you can see him doing not a lot of good stuff. That's right. I said bad stuff about Zachary Levi. I said The Rock was driving around a pretend car when he thought he still had control of DC. I mean, people say what they want to, and on Twitter, you don't have to back it up. And so it's really maddening to me. It's a very maddening space, but nobody's going to kick me out of Twitter. All right. Let's go to the first story. Oh, that's right, Britt. I said I didn't like Timothée Chalamet's speech. So annoying. So annoying. Okay. I stand by that. Okay, story number 1. I'm so annoyed. Okay. Must calm down. Thank you, Danny. I like those cute little popcorn emojis, Junior. They're cheering me up. Okay. I'm not calling it X. Said a lot of bad stuff about Elon Musk. Okay. Nobody ever remembers the stuff. So annoying. Okay. Boop. Okay, so I was so annoyed and taken up with time today. I pulled the pictures, but I didn't have time to upload them because I wanted to get the stream going. Okay. So, you remember the pretend car, right? That's the one that did it, by the way. Shortly after I made that comment, Dwayne Johnson bowed out of DC. I think someone showed him that video because he responded to me as well afterwards. Someone had to say it. Someone had to save him. Okay. So let's talk about, you guys sending me all the popcorn emojis. I'm so lucky to have this community. I mean, I can put out the content, but your guys are the ones who make it a community. It's really rare. I'm very lucky. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so let's talk about DC. So I have mixed feelings on this. As I tweeted about this story when it broke the other day. I love the dab, Buzzy Man. That's one of my favorite little tweets, the dab. Dab. All right, so I think a Jimmy Olsen show is a great idea. Let me just say that off the bat. I like thank you, Bubbles. I like the idea of a Jimmy Olsen show. Gorilla Grodd? Mistake. I always think of things, I have a different barometer than you guys do. I think of comic book and movie properties in 2 regards. 1, can I get normal people to watch it? Like people I know. And I think as soon as they have a talking gorilla, Gorilla Grodd is that guy right there on the bottom. If they have a talking gorilla on the show, ain't no way in hell I can get anybody I know who isn't a comic book fan to watch it. It's going to be almost impossible. And then also, if it has a super small audience, well, then it really hurts the ability for it to perform well for me as something to cover. And that is very frustrating. You know, I can see that a lot of you would look at something as, do I personally want to watch it? And that's how you should regard it. But when we're looking at things like we do on this channel from a business perspective, it's frustrating, you know, because you're, as I said, so close to greatness. And then they have Gorilla Grodd. All right, so this coincides with some early rumors that came out. You might recall that right before, right around the time that Superman came out, there were rumors that they wanted to do a Mr. Terrific show and a Jimmy Olsen show. And as someone just said, Rashad, where's the Mr. Terrific show? You know, a character I wasn't so sure about either going into the movie, but like everybody, I ended up really liking Eddie Gathegi's performance. It's the only time I've ever liked Eddie Gathegi, although I don't watch that Apple space show that he's apparently on, right? So apparently he's very good on that. I think if they'd announced Mr. Terrific show, that would have been a slam. Oh, For All Mankind. Thank you, Bobby. I think if they'd announced Mr. Terrific show, would have been a slam dunk. But instead, they're like, we're doing the Jimmy Olsen one. And again, I did think that's right. I would like the Miss Tessmacher show too better as well, Maria. I loved Miss Tessmacher, and I really didn't like the way that Jimmy treated her. I'll be honest with you. So I know a number of people fight about this online. Some people try to say that Miss Tessmacher wasn't handling herself very well, but I think those who know that was really, I think, a reflection on what poor Miss Tessmacher was going through and how she was treated. And I think that Jimmy Olsen, the fact that he had no sympathy for her, I think is a common problem with, male and female interactions, that very often, and I have to say, women have to do better too, that we don't put ourselves in each other's shoes. That's one of the reasons I liked The Smashing Machine so much from Dwayne Johnson, and that it helped me to understand the male psyche a little bit better. Like why guys would say certain things that they do. Like that at first you would be like, what? But then when I saw The Smashing Machine, it helped me to better understand where that was that the motivations. So yeah, so I think, so anyway, yeah, I think James Gunn thought it was funny, when in fact, I think that it was cruel and kind of sad. At least Miss Tessmacher ended up saving the day, right? And Lois supported her, which is one of the things that made me like Lois. Lois supported Miss Tessmacher very much so, which I appreciated. So Jimmy's getting his own show. I think because he's very much James Gunn. I think James Gunn likes the characters that remind him of himself. He literally writes himself into his own shows. I think that Peacemaker is kind of him to some degree, and I think that Jimmy Olsen is his persona in the Superman movie. And so he's going to make this show called, and they're calling it though, DC Crime. That's not a bad title, although part of me is like, what about Gotham Central? Gotham Central perhaps would have been a better thing to adapt. But Gotham Central, by the way, very popular comic among the community and getting awards. However, I have to tell you, Gotham Central was not a really successful comic, and it didn't last for that long, which is unfortunate because it was really good quality. That's right. It's not even the Daily Planet show, but it is going to focus on the Daily Planet. The setup, it's going to be from the writers of American Vandal. American Vandal was a spoof on true crime shows. Thanks, Tony. That's very sweet of you. American Vandal was a spoof of true crime shows. And so DC and James Gunn have hired that team, that creative team, to do a Daily Planet show where they're going to spotlight different DC villains. And that's why they're going to call it DC Crime. Now, one of my problems is this sounds like every other DC show that's out there. It sounds like, you have a group of quirky people dealing with stuff. It feels like Peacemaker. It feels like the Harley Quinn animated series. It just feels like a little CW, Jamie. That's true. I can see that. It's just, it's a lot, and that's right. That's a great point, Danny. Why isn't this the James Gordon show? Why would you have the newspaper? And that's all because, again, Matt Reeves is holding Batman hostage. Like, why wouldn't you if you're going to do a show that's about criminals, why wouldn't it be an organization that could actually do something about it? Right? Why not make that Peacemaker? Why not make Peacemaker season 3 or the Amanda Waller show? Where is the Amanda Waller show? I feel like, all these shows are covering the same thing and they all feel very similar, and it's really frustrating. Now, Gorilla Grodd, what? Yeah, right? Chico, Amanda Waller, what the heck? Or an Arkham Asylum show. That's right, Britt. Where was that show? We were going to get an Arkham Asylum show about villains. That was a great idea. So, but where's that? All right, so Gorilla Grodd, right? I will say that in the current comics, he is a very big character right now in the Justice League title that Mark Waid is writing. And Dan Mora, was doing the art for it for a little while. They had Grodd come back. Grodd brought back the Legion of Doom. In fact, all the DC villains. So maybe that's where they got this from. But, I got to tell you, when Gorilla Grodd showed up in the current Justice League run, I dropped the comic. I was like, I don't want to read this. It was kind of shaky up until that point. I think the team is too big. But as soon as Gorilla Grodd showed up, I was like, no thanks. Yeah, Gorilla Grodd talks. He's a fully functioned, it's like Planet of the Apes, only comic booky. Now, as I said, I feel like non-comic book fans, this is a real hurdle, right? Like, it's going to be very hard to sell them on watching a show. And this isn't going to be just for one episode. Or at least the early reports say that Gorilla Grodd is going to be the main villain for season 1 of this DC crime show. Probably doing something like he is in the comics right now, where he's actually the one behind. That's right, Kay Walton. James Gunn loves talking animals. That's a great point. You know, he keeps doing the same thing over and over again, which is leading to a sameness within his DC. That's right, Paul. I'm just waiting on Lanterns too. I think because that's a totally different creative team. I think it's going to be great. And again, to James Gunn's credit, if you're going to call him out on the bad stuff, you got to give him credit for the good stuff. James Gunn put that show together. He put Lanterns together. And then, as many people other pointed out, villains without their heroes. What is with this trend? You know, Sony had to do it because they couldn't use Spider-Man. And it worked out with Venom, but it hasn't worked out since. Even the follow-up Venom movies weren't quite as successful. Then, because Matt Reeves is holding Batman hostage, we had the Penguin show, but that didn't do great in the ratings, but it got a lot of awards. But you know, that's why we have to have a Clayface movie, which is from Matt Reeves, but it's not the Robert Pattinson Batman. It's the James Gunn Batman villain who hasn't shown up yet. Circe showed up on Creature Commandos before Wonder Woman has been here. And then, you know, now we have Gorilla Grodd without the Flash. And sometimes people say, well, maybe the Flash, you know, I saw somebody, I forget who said it. It said, well, maybe this will backdoor a Flash introduction. That'd be great, but how many times have we fallen for that? Where we think, oh, this is going to be the Flash. And also, you could never keep that a secret. If James Gunn could keep that, James Gunn is proven to be pretty good at keeping secrets. I'll give him that. I'll give James Gunn his due, you know. A couple of times during this live stream. And I think that he's been proven to be quite good at stopping leaks. But I don't know if even he could stop the leak of casting the Flash. And that's right, Ben. I mean, like, where is the main DC stuff happening? You can't introduce these major characters on a television show. And then are you going to put major villains on are you going to introduce a happy anniversary to us, Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne. Like, are you going to introduce major DC villains on a streaming show? No way. James Gunn has said that he can't do anything on the streaming shows that would have to go, that you have to see to be able to watch the movie. Same exact problem that Marvel has. So why would you make a show called DC Crime if you're going to be stuck with more Z-listers? I got to be honest with you. I liked parts of Peacemaker season 2, and they have this new prison that they just introduced. That's another thing. They introduced the prison planet at the end of Peacemaker season 2. So why are we jumping to a brand new show instead of just having Jimmy Olsen join Peacemaker season 3? Like, and then build up bank the episodes so you can finally frickin' trend with a backlog. Even Marvel has realized that not doing additional seasons has ended up hurting them in the ratings. So it's just very difficult to follow, and it's frustrating from a coverage perspective, because it's really hard. You know, it's a tough space right now to be in for everybody. Hollywood's suffering, so then everybody who comments on Hollywood and covers Hollywood, we're all having a tough time, which might also be adding to my bad mood. Okay. So James Gunn and quirky. James Gunn has a very specific sensibility, okay? And I do think he has a taste issue. I think he does need to be restricted by a PG-13 rating. I think when he's restricted by a PG-13 rating, he does his best work. I think there's nothing worse for James Gunn than an R or above rating. I think he can't handle it. I think he gives into his worst things, his worst inclinations. But, Supergirl is also kind of being ignored. Hopefully, when the Supergirl trailer comes out, I think one of the reasons it doesn't get a lot of attention is that James Gunn does all the talking for DC for the most part. And he doesn't talk about projects that he's not in charge of. He's talking more about Superman 2, although probably in a bid to boost interest in the current Superman movie, which has done better than the Marvel movies this year, but has not done as well as other projects have. But yeah, so I think that he has to restrict the quirkiness to just a few key projects. Once Marvel started to get too silly, there was a big problem. I think that became an issue. I think DC has to maintain its dignity, and I think that James Gunn is so hyper focused on being fan friendly that I think he loses a lot of his professionalism. I think it happens with him being online too much and answering too many questions. And I think, like, for instance, somebody here just mentioned that he tweeted about the new DC animated Robins movie. He did, but I'm really surprised they're doing a fan. I hope it's a very small role, but they're doing a fan cameo for that animated movie, and anyone can audition to be in the movie. And I think, part of me is like, that's a nice thing to do for fans, but I think it would be better to invite fans to the premiere or to a behind the scenes thing and come and see the movie being made. I think once you start having, like, well, see, Mika thinks it's cool, but for me, I don't know. I think it takes away a little bit of the professionalism of it. I don't know, it's such a fine line to walk. I do think it's nice that James Gunn is so fan friendly. But it's very hard. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I think he's only friendly towards a certain type of fan. Although I have to say, I saw a headline before we went live when someone said, are you aware that everybody or a lot of people took issue with the end of Peacemaker? And I thought he had like a really, either he's grown a lot or because it didn't come from me, he could be nice about it. If they'd said, Grace Randolph said this, he would have been like, blah, blah, blah. But instead he just graciously said, not everybody can love everything. And he is aware of some of the backlash. And I thought that was a nice thing. I was like, oh, that was a very responsible, like he has to answer because he created a situation where he answers every single thing that somebody asks him. But I thought it was a nice answer. I thought that it was, I thought it deflated the situation. That's right. Media training, Wanda's attorney. Perhaps he's finally received media training. But I thought it just kind of deflated the whole thing. He was like, yeah, some people didn't like it. You can't win everybody over. And there's really nothing to say to that, which I thought was very clever. I thought that was well done. I was like, nicely done. All right, so we'll do questions on this and questions and comments on this in a moment. V for Vendetta. Okay, so they also announced they're working on a V for Vendetta show also. Alex says, hey Grace, it's my 25th birthday. You've been watching me since 2016 Suicide Squad. That's fantastic. That was a crazy time. It was a fun time. And that's fantastic. I love you have the highest emoji you can get, highest badge. But happy birthday and thanks for spending part of it with us. Now, as for V for Vendetta, I don't know about this show. I loved Watchmen. I thought Watchmen on HBO was incredible. Not a lot of people watched it. It was a very political show, but I thought the commentary that it offered was brilliant. But I don't know about a V for Vendetta show. We'll see how people react to The Running Man this weekend. But when you have stuff happening in real life like Luigi, and when you think about what, I was in London over the holidays. And at the Tower of London, they have this wonderful experience where you can do like a virtual reality, half live action, half VR, Tower of London experience. And they walk you through the Guy Fawkes situation where he was going to explode the Tower of London. And they give you the perspective of the people who were upset. And we asked, like, it was really weird to be put in a situation where they wanted you to commit this act of terror. And, when we were leaving, we asked the person who ran it, we said, how does it usually go? Because you have to decide whether or not you want to do the Guy Fawkes thing or not. And he said, almost everybody wants to do the Guy Fawkes thing. Everybody says, let's blow this popsicle stand. And you're like, you were like, I don't really know if that's something that I want to do. I think it's like, it's really tricky. And it was fascinating. I think that's one of the reasons I got upset with Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because he made it seem that it was okay that Brad Pitt's character killed his wife because his wife was quote unquote annoying. And you're like, well, maybe she wasn't annoying from a different perspective. Maybe he was the one who was annoying. I think like perspective is such an important and mercurial thing, that to have like such final vicious consequences on a matter of perspective is a slippery slope, which is why we have the justice system. And we used to have this thing called innocent until proven guilty, which the internet has largely taken away. Not to say there isn't corruption. It's such a complex conversation. But I don't really know if V for Vendetta is like, you know, a good thing to do right now. Like, and I don't know how big of an audience there would be for such a thing. Even the movie only did okay. I mean, maybe if I'd make only V for Vendetta if they could seriously bring down the budget. I'd be like, if you're gonna make this for no money, then great. Let's see, maybe I can win some awards. But yeah, I would just say always be very careful. You know, when when people are shouting for blood and they feel they have the other group on the run, the winds change, my friend. And when the wind blows back on you, and the other group goes, aha, well, we're gonna do to you what you did to us. You know, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. And I believe very strongly in that that very old saying, because it's been around for a long time for a reason. All right. How did a unicorn get in here? Okay, so any questions or comments? What a day. What a day, you know? People are like, why don't you just talk about entertainment, Grace? And I'm like, entertainment's getting political. What do you want from me? I can't help it. I don't like it when entertainment gets political because it pulls me into these stupid conversations. V for Vendetta is kind of about talking about anarchy and stuff like that. I'm not a fan of anarchy. As many of you would suspect, I'm a big fan of rules and regulation, you know? Good rules and regulation, but I like that. I'm a big fan. One of my biggest complaints as a child was like, I would say, these other children are very poorly behaved, you know? Like, I've never liked anarchy, even as a child. Let's see here. Krafel says, when they tried to establish Olsen, what are you even talking about with Olsen? I think you're talking, all right. Sahib says, Grace, Grodd was already in The Flash and people loved it. The people who watch the CW show, that's a very small audience, which I think has shrunk as the comic book trend has maybe gone on a little bit too long. Some people really like anarchy. Oh, you were talking about Jimmy Olsen and Superman? Let me go back to your comment. When they tried to establish, Jimmy Olsen is a womanizer, you were so puzzled because he lacks the charisma and he seems, I gotta tell you, Skylar Gisondo does have that it factor. I think I can see women really liking him. I think, and I'm gonna keep it professional and not say anything about anybody else. But I do think that Skylar Gisondo is extremely, extremely likable. And that's one of the only reasons that I think there wasn't more blowback for that storyline. That he just seems so sweet and wonderful. You're like, he couldn't really mean it. Let's see here. The CW had a show just like this a couple of years ago called Powerless with Vanessa Hudgens, and it got canceled. Well, let's see. Let's see. Yeah, remember as Alfred said, some people want to see the whole world burn. Not me. Not me. I'm with Batman. Let's see here. Drago says, V for Vendetta was a good movie, but can audiences get behind another lead actor constantly wearing a mask? Well, The Mandalorian does pretty well. And I think the way you fix that is you have a different lead character, you know? And you don't make that character the lead so much. Karmasin says mass appeal should be a priority for early DCU. I agree. I mean, I know they're playing catch up with Marvel, but Marvel, the MCU was built extremely well. And it was only when Kevin Feige started to do what other franchises have done that he lost his way. If only he'd stuck to his guns. Let's see, your poll says any spin-off shows that are made right now should be for the characters that are most popular and well-known in the public eye. This is just too small. Paul, I guess it depends on the budget and the other villains that they pick. If they drop Gorilla Grodd, I don't know. And also, here's another point. Nobody announced any other Daily Planet reporters. Like, if Lois Lane isn't on this show and if Clark Kent isn't on this show, give me a freaking break. Like, you know, that's why a Jim Gordon show maybe isn't a bad idea, because Jim Gordon would be the head of the organization. If you don't have your star Daily Planet reporters, you know, and maybe that's why James Gunn casts, you know, I think a lot of us wondered why he cast such a deep bench for the Daily Planet, right? Like, we were like, why did he flesh out the Daily Planet staff so much? And maybe it's because he always intended to make this show. So maybe you're already looking at your cast minus David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, which would be ridiculous because Lois and Clark are the Daily Planet. I agree, Tall. It should be a Lois show. Lois should host. I would love it. If Lois hosted the show, I'd be like, bring on the gorilla. I don't care. Hey, Johnny Rios. See, I support women. Sahib, I'm sure that the CW was very big, you know, but I think that, you know, I think a lot of times fans think that they're the only people, you know, but for something, you know, and it's fine, I guess, for a show like on the CW, but for the ratings benchmark that's needed for a streaming show and a movie, it's the fandom isn't enough. You need to move beyond the fandom and get people who would normally never pay attention to this stuff. I saw a really good comment online when I brought this up the other day, and someone said if people liked this kind of really overly quirky stuff, they would be comic book readers. But not a lot of people read comics because they don't like it. So, and like comic book movies are so popular, and yet the audience for comic books has not substantially grown. How long have we gone in here? We're 37 minutes already, and I haven't even moved on to the second story. I better move on to the next story. Thank you, Weesey. Thank you so much. That's so generous of you. Okay. Hey, Johnny Rios. Welcome. Welcome back. Okay. IK9, I don't know if people want to watch something that's so close to reality. I think it's tough. All right. Okay. We got to move to the next story. I'm sorry. I spent too much time talking about Super Mario. Things sucking up my life. Okay. Story number 2. Boop. All right. Here we go. Let's talk about this stuff. All right. So, Wicked, the Ariana Grande effect. That's where I started this conversation. The Ariana Grande effect. She's a star. I love Ariana Grande so much. Although it was funny, I saw she's been so careful and so carefully curated her press tour for Wicked. It's just done such a wonderful job. But then she did that new lie detector test with Bowen Yang, and she like dropped her facade a little bit, which I thought was interesting. And she was so different. I'll be curious to see where she goes from here. I think that if she can really, really stick to what she's been doing, she'll be a huge star, like a really, really big star. But let's see, you know, we'll see what happens. But I think I'm very happy with what Ariana Grande's been doing. But I wouldn't team her with Bowen Yang again. I'd be like, no. Okay? I'd be like, you know, she gets into trouble with him. Okay. And I love Bowen Yang, by the way. Bowen Yang has only a couple of lines in Wicked for Good. Nailed every single one of them. He was so funny. All right. I also think Ariana Grande is on the cusp of winning an Oscar. I think she might actually do it. That's incredible. She might actually do it. Let's see. I don't know about Lady Gaga. I think Lady Gaga is a little bit of a different situation. Because Lady Gaga separated her singing from her acting. I mean, not in A Star Is Born. And by the way, that was her most successful endeavor. So maybe Lady Gaga should pay a little bit of attention to what Ariana Grande is doing. And I know some Lady Gaga fans will be very upset about that. Be like, how dare you say Lady Gaga should pay attention to anybody else? But I think, you know, tying the singing and the acting together is really, seems to be a good thing to do. Okay, so, you know, Cher did separate her singing from her acting, and I thought Lady Gaga was going to be the new Cher. I really did. And I think for a moment she was on that path. But I think House of Gucci hurt her a lot. And she was great in House of Gucci. She was so good in House of Gucci, but that movie was not good. And it fell apart when she was no longer the focus of it. Okay. So I know you guys are pointing back to a lot of other actors and stuff and singers, but we're talking about, I think Ariana Grande is directly responsible for these two singers getting movie roles. So that's why I said Ariana Grande. All right, so Taylor Swift, though. Let's not forget that Taylor Swift has tried to be an actress and failed horribly, because I got to tell you, and I really like Taylor Swift, although I think she's a scooch overexposed, but I really like Taylor Swift. She's a type A personality. I think she's a wonderful singer. I think she's a wonderful producer. I think she's a wonderful director. I think she's a wonderful songwriter. But as Alexander just said, she can't act. Taylor Swift is actually a bad actress. So I don't think Taylor Swift will ever be an actress, no matter what she tries to do, I'm sorry to say. And that's okay. She doesn't have to be every single thing on the face of the earth. She's already one of the most famous women of all time. And what she's accomplished is incredible. Bunny Librarian, she does a great job in her music videos, but she just cannot act. At least right now. Maybe Taylor Swift took acting lessons. I don't know. But as of everything I've seen up to date, she's a bad actress. Okay, so anyway, let's see if Sabrina Carpenter, as many of you pointed out, I think started out as an actress, right? So let's start out. Sabrina is going to be our second thing that we discuss because it's the bigger story. But yes, it was announced this morning that Adele will do her first acting role in a new Tom Ford movie. And it gets even better. So this is a Tom Ford movie based on an Anne Rice novel. Not Interview with the Vampire or anything like that, but it's going to have that Anne Rice spiciness. So Anne Rice and Tom Ford. For those of you who aren't aware, Tom Ford is a fashion designer. I wear Tom Ford glasses. Okay? Do they say Tom Ford on them? I don't know. But yes. So Tom Ford is a fashion designer, and he's directed, I think, at least one movie. He's done pretty well. But he's LGBTQ, and I think he's very representative of that community. Okay? I think he did do Nocturnal Animals as well. So he's very stylish, and so the movie's going to look amazing. Nocturnal Creatures. Okay. He did something else too with Colin Firth that actually got some Oscar buzz. Nocturnal Creatures or Animals, not so much. A Simple Man. Thank you, Alexander. All right, so, oh yeah, that's right, Real Jose. Adele was very funny on Saturday Night Live. I didn't think of that. I'm going to talk about Sabrina Carpenter on SNL, which she just hosted, but you're right. Adele hosted SNL as well, and she did a fabulous job. I think she can act. Oh, I'm even more excited now. So not only is this based on an Anne Rice novel, but it takes place in the world of 18th century opera. Oh my God. It's fantastic. Also, it has that boy from Adolescence, Owen Cooper. It's got Aaron Taylor Johnson in it, by the way, so maybe it'll be a dud if he's in it. But also Nicholas Hoult, who also kind of is a little bit of a box office curse. Boy, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Nicholas Hoult, woo, they better be sexy in that movie. That's nuts. Adele will have to lift them both, one in each arm. But yeah, so it's an interesting, it's an interesting cast. But I think there will be a lot of interest in Adele, and she clearly is going to be providing some of the singing, because it's a movie about opera, so there's got to be singing. So that's good. But the real story is Sabrina Carpenter is going to be doing an Alice in Wonderland movie for Universal. And Universal, of course, produces Wicked. So, as I predicted before, Universal is yet again coming to drink Disney's milkshake. They're doing live-action adaptations of animation. Now they've moved into the fairy tale space. And so this is very aggressive. They really are firing a shot across the bow, yet again, when it comes to Disney. So it's going to be Alice in Wonderland. And Poke wants to point out that Sabrina has been trying to do this since 2020. And at first she was at Netflix, and now she's moved it to Universal. I don't like the director they've chosen. I think I would have, the director of Hustlers, who wrote the script apparently, Lauren something. I think they would be better off getting Sofia Coppola. I mean, Sofia Coppola was going to do a Little Mermaid, and I was a little more interested in that, actually. I think Sofia Coppola might do an actually quite a good Little Mermaid. If I wouldn't give Sofia Coppola a lot of money to do a Little Mermaid movie, but I'd give her maybe 60 to 80 million dollars. Okay? Well, that's right, Britt. Get Timothy Chalamet to reheat Johnny Depp's nachos. That's pretty funny. And I wouldn't be surprised if she did. So she's going to do Alice in Wonderland, which I have to say, considering her petite size, is a really great choice for her. I think, if all the things she could pick, although I have to say, you guys say she's an actress, but in her most recent music video, I thought she did a pretty bad job. But maybe it just wasn't her finest moment. But I think Alice in Wonderland is a good choice for her. But there are some issues. All right. So first off, Disney has a strong branding of this IP. Disney has the animated movie, and Disney, of course, recently did the live action. Well, not recently. In fact, Disney's live action Alice in Wonderland was one of the first billion-dollar movies. The second one obviously crashed and burned, but it was really quite good. The first one. So, Disney has done a lot with Alice in Wonderland, so they'll have to fight that off. I don't think this will make $1 billion. I'll give you my reasoning in a moment. So there are two issues. One is that Sabrina Carpenter has a very adult image. It's like her whole persona right now. Now, of course, singers in particular change their personas up quite a bit. And this is relatively new for her. It's her current thing, at her concerts, her album cover. She's working very hard to be very adult. So will this be an adult take on Alice in Wonderland? I don't know if that's a good idea, considering I think getting little girls to go see these fantasy movies, well, little girls and little boys, is one of the reasons that they do so well. So I'd be curious. I'm not sure what she's going to do. Like, how is this going to be different than the Disney versions? Like, what's going to make it worthwhile? Like, what's its reasons for existing, right? Now, here's the biggest problem, okay? Star versus material. Wicked was on Broadway for over 20 years. One of the reasons that Wicked is so successful is that it's the pairing of Ariana Grande with Wicked. That is crucial. That there is such a strong comparison between, that both of them in their own right are a big deal. People have a relationship with Ariana Grande, but people also have a relationship with Wicked, the material. So I think that just a generic Alice in Wonderland story isn't going to have the same pull, especially because it's been adapted so many times before in video games, in movies, etc. It's just not going to be the same must-see kind of situation. It almost takes on, thanks, Mr. Magic Forever, I'm glad you agree with me. It almost takes on a music video movie kind of feel, It feels more like what Taylor Swift has been doing with The Life of a Showgirl. And so that's what I think. I think that a Sabrina Carpenter Alice in Wonderland movie feels like it's more about Sabrina Carpenter than Alice in Wonderland. So I think it will do pretty well. I'd even be curious to watch it because it's the kind of thing that I like. And yeah, maybe the songs are really good, Maria. Let's see what they come up with. But I don't think you're going to look at something that's going to be performing to the level of Wicked. And I wouldn't expect it to. But you might be able to get something, and do they go full fantasy? I mean, one of the things that I continue to marvel at with Wicked is the scale and scope of the costume design and the set design. They just don't make them like that anymore. And it's just such a joy to watch. So Alice in Wonderland would have to go to that level of detail. And let's see if they do it and what the take is again and stuff like that. But that's why I think Disney's Hercules still remains one of the top things, and Tangled, but particularly Hercules. Hercules and Tangled, I think, are two really, really hot projects. The Disney, I don't know what's taken them. Well, Tangled is moving ahead, but they're messing up the casting, it seems. I don't know what the budget's going to be for the Alice in Wonderland movie, Juan. Encanto, maybe too. Encanto and Frozen, I think, are more still in their animated stage. I don't really know if they're ready to jump to live action just yet. But I think that, there's nothing else to do with Hercules and Tangled but bring them to live action, whereas Frozen and Encanto still have animated sequels coming up. Paul Mescal as Hercules, Ben, after that Wicked Gladiator sketch, couldn't agree more. Paul Mescal, in my opinion, is Hercules. I think he'd be brilliant in it. And I think that Megara role is a really hot role. So is Hades. I mean, Hercules, that's a great pairing, the future champ says, who directed Wonka? That's who you would want. That's great. That's Paul King. He's a great choice. He's a really, really strong choice. They're doing another Wonka though. So he's busy. But yeah, Wonka is more of a generic kind of a brand, and they really made it work. But again, that attention to detail and to production design and costume design and the songs for Wonka were so good. It was such a delightful surprise. So this could work. How much did Wonka make? Let me look that up. Oh, wait. Oof. $634. Wow. I'd be shocked if Sabrina Carpenter's Alice in Wonderland made that much money. I think Timothée Chalamet benefited from the Dune films and stuff like that. They caught him at just the right moment. I would peg Alice in Wonderland at about 4 to 5. I'd have to see the trailer. But right now I'm thinking 400 to 500 million would be what that's very impressive, by the way. But I'd put it around what, how much did Little Mermaid make? With Halle Bailey. That made $569. There's a lot of money in fairy tales. I can see why Universal wants to do this. That's amazing. All right, so does anyone have any questions or comments about this story before we get to the third story of the day? William says, could Gaga be the Queen of Hearts? No, I don't think that Sabrina Carpenter is going to. Well, I don't know. There's a lot of opportunities for guest stars in a Alice in Wonderland movie because she goes along and has an adventure and meets lots of different characters. And Sabrina Carpenter is pretty good at throwing together a special. I respect that Sabrina Carpenter is the one who came up with wanting to do this. The writer, Meki, is this Lauren Scafala or whatever person, but they haven't decided on a director. They're thinking of her, but she hasn't gotten the gig just yet. Catherine Hahn for Queen of Hearts? I don't know. Chapel Roan for Queen of Hearts. Oh, Lila, you're making me more interested in the movie. Yeah, if Sabrina Carpenter were to turn Alice in Wonderland into the Avengers of, singers in her own, age range, my God, would that make a lot more money? I mean, that's a great idea. That would be incredible. This could, I'm starting to feel a little bit more excited. Okay, the future movie actress says Taylor Swift needs the right role, or at least both the right script and right director. Billie Eilish has, I like Billie Eilish. She'd be good too. Let's get her in there. She could be the Mad Hatter. Billie Eilish would be a great Mad Hatter. I love Chapel Roan. Chapel Roan's my current favorite singer. I listen to her album all the time. New album. I'm getting tired of listening to it. I need new material. That's very nice of you, Chico. Let's see here. Future movie actress says Sabrina Carpenter is a great actress. That's great. I'm glad she is. I mean, I just saw her in one music video and I was not super impressed, but I mean, I told you guys are getting me excited about, you're making me excited about, the Sabrina Carpenter Alice in Wonderland. Dory says, will there be any dudes in this movie? Heck yeah. Sabrina Carpenter loves a hot guy. I mean, her whole persona right now is about hot guys. So yeah, Sabrina Carpenter, I told you, she's a pretty good businesswoman. She'll make sure there are hot guys in there. She knows to have the eye candy. Oh yeah, Kyle says, how about Miley Cyrus? Yeah, I love Miley Cyrus too. Big Miley Cyrus fan. Miley Cyrus, I'm on your side. Liam was so mean to you. Let's see. Your prime sign says, would Sabrina need to be careful about her projects between now and this release? I think she's fine. I think this is going to play into her current. She should just stick to what she's doing. So yeah. Jose says, how about Benson Boone? Yeah, I trust Sabrina who's definitely going to be in it? Marcello Hernandez. I'd actually tell her not to do that. I think he brings it down. I don't want it to seem like an SNL sketch. I want it to seem like a real movie. And I love Marcello Hernandez. He's totally remaking Saturday Night Live. His relationship with both Pedro and Bad Bunny, I think, is fantastic. I think Harry Styles is over. I said it. Ronnie, I think it's a musical. A legendary movie critic says she's friends with Jenna Ortega. She's friends with Taylor Swift. I just saw a picture of them standing next to each other. People talking about the ridiculous height difference. I think she'll get a lot of people in this movie. I think it could be really great. I'm not sure, Poke, when it's coming out. All right. My goodness, we're already at 56 minutes and we haven't even done the third story. Thank you, everybody, for joining me for this super-sized live stream. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit now about, where'd it go? Toy Story 5, and also a couple of the other trailers that have come out this week. So, and then the Q&A. All right, boom, baby. All righty. So, Toy Story 5 dropped a teaser yesterday, just as I had to go to my doctor's appointment. I was like, I thought they were going to, oh, hey, I'm glad you made it, Steven. I thought they were going to drop the trailer like at around 9 a.m. or noon. That's when you drop trailers. What was this 3 p.m. crap? It was driving me crazy. I was already out the door and going through the city of New York. So yes, the teaser trailer came out yesterday. I know, I did forget to add something. I knew that I did. I thought it was funny that one of the biggest things that people talked about was how the heck is Woody still around? Didn't he leave everybody at the end of Toy Story 4? Wasn't he like, I need to go on my own way and be with Bo Peep? And now he's back? And he gave his badge. Remember, he gave his sheriff badge to Jessie. I didn't see her wearing it in the teaser, but if she's walking around Bonnie's room wearing a sheriff's badge, and Woody isn't, I think that people are, who knows? I think a lot of people just go to these movies, you know, like people could, you know, that's the thing. Like people could complain and stuff and all that, you know, but at the end of the day, especially when it comes to like a family film, people just need something to go and see, and so they go. Oh, that's right, Sophia. I like that Woody has a situationship. They're like, why are you back? And he goes, I don't know. I can't talk to Bo Peep. Who knows what she wants? That's funny. That's very funny. All right. So why so many teasers? Right? So, oh, hey, Oasis. All right. So, Oasis, I think you were getting a tough time too on Twitter today in the conversation. I'm sorry you got pulled into that. Okay, so, why so many teasers? Toy Story 5 came out. You know what else I was annoyed about the Super Mario thing? I thought that was coming out during State of Play this evening. I don't understand why the heck it came out this morning. That really, really annoyed me. Okay, so Super Mario trailer this morning, Devil Wears Prada this afternoon. And then, there's a trailer tomorrow. Not a really big one, but there's a family movie trailer tomorrow. That's all I'll say. Oh, it was during Nintendo Direct. Oh, and State of Play was yesterday. Oh, well, that's probably what it was. I told you I'm not a gamer. Okay, I did wonder why some of that stuff was trending. Okay. The Housemaid trailer too. Oh, no, I missed it. And then again, as I said, Devil Wears Prada. Devil Wears Prada was such a teaser that, you know, all I could think of, okay, I'll be such a bitch. All I could think of was while watching the Devil Wears Prada trailer was that Meryl Streep lost the ability to walk in heels. I was like, what is happening here? You know, like, I don't know. Maybe they should have gotten a double or something like that. But like, that just kind of threw me a little bit. But yeah, but I'm glad everybody's very excited, and that's I think going to be a really big deal. Okay. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see. If I were Mortal Kombat, I'd move up. You guys felt the same way? Oh, I'm glad it wasn't just me. Now I feel a little less bitchy. That's great. Okay. Let's see. If I were Mortal Kombat, I'd move up against Devil Wears Prada. It's the weekend after at this point. Maybe they don't want to, maybe Devil Wears Prada will have premium screens for at least 1 week. Who knows? Okay. All right. So obviously the question is, are these to play in front of Wicked or Zootopia? Now, obviously, Devil Wears Prada is to play in front of Wicked, and Wicked screenings start on Monday. Yeah, the 17th. I already saw it, as you know, but the review embargo lifts on the 18th. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, but fan screenings start on the 17th, and you better believe that in front of those fan screenings, they're going to have trailers. So that's why the trailers are coming out this week instead of next week, when you would typically think they would drop. I'm surprised they would put something like Super Mario and Toy Story 5 in front of Wicked. I would think those trailers would be debuting next week to go in front of Zootopia too. But I think they feel like a lot of kids and families are going to see Wicked. Oh, I don't think a lot of families with kids. I mean, some of them do, but Wicked for Good is such a much darker movie. Oh my gosh, like it was really dark. Like it was, okay, I'll say one thing. It was a little bit like watching a musical during the fall of the Third Reich. You know, you were like, oh my God, like the things that were happening in Wicked for Good were so horrible that it was really, really tough. You were just like, my God, you know, like they did not hold back in the second half for the film. So I think, you know, I'm glad that some of, I mean, if it's very dark, it's very Act Two. We'll talk about that when I do my actual reviews. But yeah, so yeah, so we'll see. But I think, you know, it's not at all like the first movie. And I do wonder how audiences who aren't familiar with the musical will react to that. I think that they're putting Toy Story 5 and Super Mario Brothers in front of Wicked, which I think is very interesting. Okay, so the teaser came out and it was revealed that Greta Lee will be voicing Lilypad, that little tablet in question. Now, I told you, Hollywood is a business of relationships. And Greta Lee, of course, was just in Tron Ares. So clearly, she's really forging a relationship with Disney. And that's one of the reasons I think she got this gig, because they decided to continue to work with her. And so sometimes you might wonder why an actor might take a certain role. And I think a lot of times it's to get in good with the studio so that they start putting you in more and more stuff. I will say that I think that Greta Lee could not be a better choice for this role. I think to do this Lilypad, and also money. That's right, Britt. The money don't hurt either. But I do think that Greta Lee is a really great choice to voice an educational or supposedly educational toy. Really, really smart. I will say, though, for acting roles, I think Greta Lee, I think because Tron didn't work out, if I were advising her, I would tell her maybe blockbusters aren't quite for her. I think, though, she should be doing more dramas. She's in House of Dynamite. She has a small role in House of Dynamite. Nailed it. So good. I was happy to see her, in fact, because I like her a lot. She's on The Morning Show very successfully. So I think Greta Lee should be doing, the legendary movie critic, Tron Ares failing certainly wasn't her fault. But I don't think that she brought anybody in. I think if you are a Greta Lee fan, I mean, there's always those of us who like just cinema. I think, like, I just don't think she's a fit with the material, you know? I think you needed an Olivia Wilde type, you know? You needed an ingenue. I even think Olivia Wilde today would be a little bit more of a difficult sell. So I think that Greta Lee is a fabulous actress. I'm so excited. It's really fun to watch her career rise, especially because she's been around for so long and she's only now starting to break out thanks to the Celine Song movie Past Lives. So I think she could be I think she's going great places. But I think she should stay away from the Tron movie, although it got her this, I'm sure. And she should be doing more dramatic, big movies, like big dramas, but stuff like that. So the tagline of the movie is screen time versus playtime, and the age of toys is over. I think that's a pretty good tagline. However, as I found out when we discussed the concept of the film before, Denzel says that they hope that this movie provokes millions of parents to not use the iPad as a babysitter. Well, there's a real problem with that. I think parents don't like to be told what to do, particularly when it's really hard to be a parent right now, and it's very hard to pay for daycare, and people are working a lot of jobs. And then two, Disney, as I have here, Disney Tech, Disney is really pushing a lot of tech. In fact, I was telling a friend of mine about this, and they said, isn't the movie screen also a screen? I don't think Disney wants to get into the business of saying screens are bad and that screen time is bad, because Disney produces a ton of content for screens, interactive and passive. So I think this is a very slippery slope. And so because of that, I think you're having Disney corporate clashing with Pixar messaging. But I gotta tell you, I think there's a lot of people who are rooting for this movie to be anti-technology. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the movie, they end up finding a way to work with Lilypad. And they're like, oh, technology wasn't our enemy. It was just making sure we used it responsibly. Lilypad will be like, didn't I tell you I have a screen, like a certain amount of time button that you can use, or parental controls? And then at the end of the movie, everybody will be like, oh, I'm glad we worked this out. That's right, Just Blaze Disney. Disney does not have villains that go on from movie to movie. They redeem everybody. So I suspect that's probably what's going to happen at the end of Toy Story 5. That everyone will learn to work together, and that they'll discover that Lilypad is a great new addition to the room. And don't be surprised if Disney sells actual Lilypads, some kind of cover to go over your device. That's Toy Story branded. So I'll be interested to see how that goes down on social media. That's crazy. We'll see what happens. We'll see what they decide. What they decide to do. That's right. They sold a lot of those Lotzos. Lotso was a toy that sold pretty well. The villain from Toy Story 3. He was awful. He tried to burn those toys alive. All right. Any questions or comments about this before we get to the Q&A section? Kay Walton says movies are just expensive ads for products, especially if it's like, a family film. Black Circle Polka Dot, that's a great name, says, no doubt, classically, forward technology to every generation is played as bad. That might be true, yeah. Away still has their Lotso, and it still smells like strawberries. That's a quality product. Hypertop says, what did you think of the trailer, Grace? I didn't think there was anything really to react to. Same with Devil Wears Prada. I thought they were teasers to such a degree, and they'd already revealed first looks at this stuff through concept art or being caught on set, or things on set, that I didn't feel there was anything, you were just like, yep, it's coming. I don't think there was anything really to talk about. Future movie actor says, even with your thoughts on Toy Story 4, Grace, movie still was a strong performer at the box office. I'm sure, yeah. I mean, I was the only one who felt it promoted socialism. Get your own string, damn it, But yeah, I don't know. Some people turn on Toy Story 4, but it still made $1 billion. Toy Story is extremely lucrative to Disney. They will never stop making it. Although just the other day, I rewatched Partysaurus Rex, and I had a great time. Thanks, Faye. I appreciate that. Oh, Sophia says, what about Labubu's? Well, you guys said the other day Labubu's were already out of style. So maybe that could be something they cover in a future Toy Story movie. How quickly fads pass these days. Chico, I don't know when the embargo lifts for Zootopia 2, but I would suspect it's what Disney always does. And that's this would be the day before release. But Disney always has their press screenings usually on the Monday. And then the embargo lifts the very next day for that. Let's see here. Oh, favorite Toy Story poll? I know you guys want a poll. All right, let's do a poll. I won't tell you mine until 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, by the way, anyone who's watching, and it's so nice to see all of you out there. I see every single one of you. Thank you for joining in today. Anyone can vote in a poll. All you have to do is click on the poll and you'll be able to cast your vote. So any more questions or comments about this just while we wait for people to vote a little bit? Maruna says, Lightyear. I understood what Lightyear was trying to do, but boy, it did not work out. It was not the Buzz Lightyear that everybody loves. Chosen Loner says, I think the idea is to keep kids creative and imaginative by playing with toys instead of electronics. I made so many shows playing with my toys. Me too, Chosen Loner. I did a lot of stuff with toys. I do think tangible play is ideal, but I think that we have to be really careful not to shame people who are doing their best. I think that economic concerns are a real issue. Access, and also parents can only do so much because the toy industry is so bad these days. I mean, what toys could you buy if you wanted to? You go to the toy aisle. It's a sad place to be these days. There's hardly anything there. Oh, Ben also did it. Yeah. I literally, just like you, I would make movies. I told you my characters, my toys would sometimes have a battle and then have a dance. But I actually got a camcorder or whatever, a video recorder, and we actually made videos and we did stuff. Yeah. Oh, see, Just Blaze Disney did it. I really miss Toys R Us. It was a magical place. The loss of Toys R Us, I'll say it, the loss of Toys R Us was a huge blow to society, and nobody wants to talk about it. Let's see. Is the poll too close to call? That's right, Malik. It did keep us whimsical. I like that. That's right, Bunny Librarian. No, who said that? Kay Walton. Kay Walton said that Toys R Us is now stuck in Macy's. I will say the 34th Street Toys R Us is actually pretty good, as Poke just pointed out. If you go to the Toys R Us at 34th Street in Macy's, they have like half of a floor or a third of a floor. That was the closest I felt to actually being back in a Toys R Us. I was pretty impressed. All right, I'm ending the poll. Okay, here we go. Hey, Rogue Frogger. Let's see here. So, favorite Toy Story movie. 35% said the second one. 33% said the third. 29% said the first. Wow, it's almost even between the three of them. And only 3% liked the fourth the best. I'm going to go with the first, although the animation is really, really old at this point. You watch it and they're like, Buzz Woody, and you're like, oh, God, it looks so square. Hey, Rogue Frogger, thank you very much. That's funny. Steven says, I love Greta Lee in the morning show. She just did her final episode. Oh, that's great. I watched like 2 episodes when that started. I never went back to it. But yeah, I am a big Jessie fan, though. I like Jessie quite a bit. And also not a little bit, because some people say that Joan Cusack, I remind them of Joan Cusack. All right, so let's go to the Q&A. I know you guys have some questions. Please don't ask me anything. Well, I don't know. You can ask me anything. I was going to say don't ask me anything about Super Mario, but I can take it. I'm an adult. I'm a professional. All right, so it's getting a little bit late. So let's do 5 minutes. 5 minutes of Ask Me Anything. I agree. I want an Incredibles 3 too, Vitor. I want them grown up, or at least older than they are now. And love to you too. Hey, Ronnie. Mooma says, hi, Grace. Just want to say how much I appreciate your work. Aw, you always make me think about things in new, different ways and perspectives. That really means a lot to me. Thank you so much. Let's see here. I love all the emojis there, another Wanda Stan, but what's Gelfie? Oh, Glinda and Alphaba, the shipping of them. Alice, I don't know. Sabrina Carpenter's pretty keyed in. She's pretty smart. Hey, J-Lo, long time no chat. Are you watching Pluribus? I just watched Pluribus last night. Thank you very much. I actually thought the first episode was very interesting. I was intrigued. I kind of was like, what the heck is going on when I was watching it? And I was like, is this really what the show is going to be about? But then I thought about it afterwards. And I think what the show is about, at least based on the first episode, is people who are loners and like to walk their own path versus people who prefer to be part of the status quo, who are joiners. And that to me that's a very tricky thing to cover. I don't really know if I think that's so complex. I don't know if it's a good idea to wade into that discussion, but I feel like that's what it was about. So we'll see if I'm right as the show progresses. Danny says, hi, discovered your channel back in 2018. Oh, and I will always support you and your content. I know we don't always agree, Danny, but I appreciate that that's something we can move past. Elliot says, Toys R Us, Blockbuster, and Hollywood Video. Man, those were the days. Yeah, every time, Blockbuster, they never had what you wanted. I always got fooled by the box in front that was not the actual video, but was the display box. And then for some reason, browsing for videos always made me have to go to the bathroom. And I'd have to I got to come back. And I have to go try and find a bathroom. Let's see here. Mickey says, hey, Grace, what are your thoughts about Diane Morgan joining the Vision Quest cast? I'm not familiar with Diane Morgan, but I'm excited for the Vision show. Oh, thanks for the Terry Garr comparison. I just saw Young Frankenstein the other day. No one's ever compared me to Terry Garr before, but I'm very flattered. So he wants to point out that Doomsday will have more scenes filmed in spring 2026. Do what you need to. Just make it good. I did see that they're doing an Alien Earth Season 2. I'm trying to make a video about it, but my week is just slipping through my fingers, and then I'm going to run smack into Wicked coverage. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just cover it on tomorrow's live stream. I don't know. Let's see here. Tigress Blade says, I am not a joiner. Yeah, I'm sometimes fiercely independent. And as you can see, it gets me in trouble. Let's see here. Carlo, yes, Carlos, I just talked about Alien Earth. There we go. Let's see. Hold on. Hey, Wanda's attorney. Let's see. I agree that Noah Hawley has a lot of work to do in terms of making sure that the show is popular. And that's one of the things I want my video to be about. So, thanks, Rogue Frogger. By the way, I can't tell you how moved I was that when they announced Alien Earth Season 2 yesterday, so many of you thought of me. That really made my day. So future movie actresses hope to see both Lucy Lane and the actress for her in the upcoming show. Excited for that, and the dynamic seems like a really big one. She'll straighten Jimmy out. I'm sure James Gunn will make them date. Let's see here. Sienna Rose has just wanted to say thank you for creating and cultivating such a wonderful community. I'm really glad that you feel that way, especially because I'm so tiring and frustrating to see people misrepresent the community that I have on Twitter. Let's see here. Steven, I think it's more than a rumor that Lady Gaga is in Devil Wears Prada. Wasn't she seen on set or something? Let's see. Mickey Powell says, oh, when do you think we're going to start getting the Batman 2 casting news? It should be any day, I would think. Aren't they supposed to start shooting after the holidays? I think hopefully very soon. I really want to know what villain they're going with. I'm so scared they're doing Court of Owls. I think that's such a bad idea. I mean, I guess it's okay if they have a big villain otherwise, but this grounded Batman thing is just I don't know. He sold me on it with the last one, but I'm getting nervous. Let's see here. Let's see here. Oh, Angela. Hey to you and your brother. I'm glad that you're seeing Wicked on the 17th. You're going to have a great time. Maria says, song When I Feel Bad. Lovely day. I don't know. I don't know if I listen to a song. I usually will treat myself to a snack that I like and maybe watch a show that I like or read a comic book. That's usually how I kind of lift my spirits. Let's see here. Kay Walton, I'm not sure about what's going on with Stranger Things, although we thought that Wednesday wasn't going to hit and it ended up hitting. So let's see. Let's see here. Dustin says fiercely independent but only likes mainstream content is interesting. Yeah, I'm not an alternative person, like I mean independent in terms of the path that I walk and how I conduct myself. Let's see here. Oh, let's see. I'm glad I was able to help you, Terry, find out about Alien Earth. And Big League Chew, I saw that Scarlett Johansson dancing gif. It was awesome. And let's see. It's not Diego says, what is your ideal way to watch something at home or in the theater? Do you ever watch on your laptop or phone? Yes, I do actually sometimes. Sometimes I watch at my desk here too. My ideal way to watch things is just I like the variety. Like movies and TV are part of my life. And then Johan says, it is said that if an activity makes you go to the bathroom, it makes you feel like you're at home. I've never heard that. That's hilarious. And then Sienna says, who do you think is going to win Best Picture? I think it's going to be one battle after another. Oh, I did not see VTV Psycho. I did not know here that Lux Pascal, Pedro Pascal's trans sister, will be in Tom Ford's next movie. That's a big deal. That's so nice. Pedro Pascal must be so proud and so happy that I'm sure he was able to facilitate that for his sister. And that's lovely. That's really nice. Let's see. But a librarian says Seinfeld or Friends. Right now I'm back into Seinfeld. See. Wanda's attorney, is that not you? It didn't sound like you. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. But I'm glad you clarified it. Because I was like, what? Hold on. I'll go back and block them. Oh, they're also a member. Oh, you can't report somebody here for impersonation. I'll just block it. Okay. I did watch the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer. I did not like it. I blocked the right Wanda's attorney, right? Wanda's attorney, are you still there? Did I get the right one? I'm pretty sure I did. Oh, yes. Good. Good. Woo! I was like, for a minute, I got really nervous. Okay. The Wicked embargo is on Wednesday, November 18th. And I saw, the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer. That's what I was talking about. I have to go in just a minute. I did not like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills trailer. I thought that it was, I thought that it was it got too trashy. I don't know if I'm going to watch it. I didn't see a single person on the show that I really liked. I think that the loss of Garcelle is going to hit them harder than they thought. Okay. Thank you, everybody. Oh, Faye, I missed your super chat. Let me go back and see it. Alex says, as an Avatar superfan, I'm excited that Avatar 3 is only 3 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, the longest one yet, too, by the way. Thank you, Sergio. Let's see if they boycott Scream 7. Oh, and Jenna did walk because of Melissa. Well, that's going to really help her a lot. Faye, I'm going back here. How did I miss this? How does it so far back? Faye, I'll just wait a minute and could you retype it? Faye? Bye, Lila. All right, I'm waiting for Faye. I just want to answer your question. Bye. Bye, Graybill. Bye, Danny. Thanks, guys. Bye, we see. Okay, Grace, I know you can't say much about Wicked, but do you think it will match the first film's box office? Oh! I can't say that till the embargo lifts, I'm sorry to say. Thanks, Chicken Beach. I love your name. Is that from something? That sounds familiar. All right, everybody. I love talking to you. You guys are great. You lifted my spirits today. You lifted my spirits. All right. Mwah. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.